record button. We might have a few more people who join us, but we'll go ahead and get started. I am Caitlin Berry. I'm the Health and Wellness Outcomes Manager at Sportable in Richmond, Virginia. I know we have several Sportable athletes on the call, as well as some other people connected to the organization, whether coaches or volunteers. We welcome you tonight. We also know we have some guests on the call from other organizations. Happy to have you here. Again, this call is, or this webinar, I should say, is being recorded. So it is up to you if you want your camera on or off, but we do ask that you mute yourself throughout the presentation. And then there's times for, there will be time for questions and answers at the end. And you're welcome to throw any questions you have during the presentation into the chat, and I'll help moderate those for Emily. So tonight, it is our pleasure to have Emily Moore. She's a registered dietitian and certified personal trainer here in Richmond, Virginia. She works with a lot of runners specifically and helping them learn to fuel their body for their running. But she has a wealth of knowledge and has previously worked in the hospital. And again, we're just so excited that she's joining us tonight to share more of her expertise on how to fuel ourselves as athletes so that we can get the most out of our sports and our training. Thank you, Emily, for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and so honored that I was invited to talk to you about nutrition for athletes. So I want to just fill you in really quickly, a little bit about me. My name is Emily Moore. I am a registered dietitian. I specialize in sports nutrition. I am a running and strength coach. So it's been kind of fun. I work with runners and athletes on the nutrition side of things, but also like the coaching and exercise side of things, which has been really fun. I've been a dietitian now for a bunch of years, and I just fell into my love of nutrition and able to combine that with sports. So I am a runner and I played a lot of different sports growing up. So I'm so excited to talk to you all today about nutrition for athletes. And I know that there are different types of athletes here that are involved in different types of sports. So I am going to kind of keep it general, but I want to give you as much information as I can for sure. So let me switch to our objectives page here. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to, after listening to this presentation, to identify the building blocks of sports nutrition, to recognize all three macronutrients and their role in sports nutrition, to name all parts of the performance plates and snacks, to describe nutrient timing and its effects on performance and recovery, and then identify and bust common nutrition myths, which we'll definitely chat about at the end for sure. So I want to first start off by going over the building blocks for sports nutrition. And you'll see that at the bottom, that's where we want to start, is your mindset. So your mindset, your mindset when it comes to food, when it comes to your body, that's a really, really great place for an athlete to start. And I'll fill you in all about that next. Next, you'll see nutrition at meals and snacks. So we'll definitely talk about the macronutrients, then how to use that information to build well-balanced meals and snacks. And then nutrient timing, you'll see up there at the top. That's basically your nutrition before, during, and after exercise. We will, for the sake of this presentation, we'll just focus on the before and after exercise. So it all starts with your mindset. And here are just some signs that maybe as an athlete, this is a really good place for you to start. Dieting, if you follow any food rules, if you feel like you're caught in that like restriction, binge, overeating cycle, having like a lot of guilt, stress, anxiety with food, thinking about food all of the time, obsessively tracking or weighing food, tracking body weight, obsessively tracking body weight, labeling food as good and bad, emotional eating. These are just a few here. And these are some signs that your mindset and working on your mindset may be a really, really great place for you to start. And why we want to start with mindset is that your mindset determines how you are going to fuel, what your food choices are going to be, how you're going to fuel and nourish your body. So I encourage you to, as an athlete, to try to look at food and nutrition through a health and performance lens. And what I mean by that is that nourishing your body and eating, that is a form of self-care. That is a form of self-care, meaning that's how you can care for yourself and take good care of your body so that you can excel in your sport and feel good all around. Eating is a beautiful way to support your cells and your tissues and your organs and all of those beautiful systems in your body that need fuel in order to function and function optimally. And food is a tool, looking at food as a tool to help you boost and help you improve your performance as an athlete. So with my clients, I always encourage them to look and think about food in an optimization addition mindset, not restriction and subtraction. So it's so easy to look at like, okay, take this out and take this out and take this out until you're left with very few options. But instead, I want to encourage you to look at your plate, look at your snack. Where can we add nutrients here? And that's what I love helping athletes with, is focusing on where we can add nutrients to optimize nutrition to better support your body and your energy levels and your sport for sure. If you need help, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I need some help on the mindset pieces here, I do encourage you, it could be helpful to work with a dietitian, specifically a sports dietitian who does specialize in intuitive eating. And if you're like, no, that's not the best next step for me, maybe I'll try something on my own first. Definitely this intuitive eating book is a really, really great resource. I definitely help runners, help athletes with intuitive eating, and it can definitely make a really big difference in your mindset and help to make some really beautiful transformations. Now, we can't talk about your mindset with food without talking about your mindset with your body, because that's a really, really important piece. And if you are struggling with body image, I want you to know that it is very common for athletes to struggle with body image, and you're not alone. So what body image is our thoughts, our attitudes, our perceptions of our bodies, of our appearance. And a positive body image is, I would describe that as like a clear, true picture of your body, the way that it is, as it really is. You may feel comfortable and really confident in your body. That's what positive body image is. What? Oh, here we go. And negative body image is often this like distorted view of our body. It's often associated with feeling shame, dissatisfaction with the way that our body looks. And body image, how we view ourselves and our body, is influenced by so many factors all throughout our life. It could be from friends and family and coaches and our role models. Social media plays a huge, huge role in that, and society. So we receive all these messages, throughout our life, and I shouldn't say a lot of times, but some of the times there can be very negative, and then we could start to look at ourselves and pick ourselves apart and feel that we're not good enough the way that we are, and over time start to believe it. So here are just some tips that if you feel like you're struggling with body image, here are some tips that can help you feel more comfortable and can help you improve your body image a bit. So wearing clothes that fit, that feel comfortable, that make you feel good about yourself. Maybe an action step could be to go through your closet and maybe have that donation bag right next to you as you go through your closet, and donate those clothes that don't make you feel good or have been sitting there for so long because they don't fit your current body. It's okay to donate those things and to keep those clothes or purchase new clothes that fit your body well and that make you feel really good and confident about yourself. Surrounding yourself with like positive, uplifting people who make you feel good about yourself. Self-talk is huge here. So recognizing that's the first step is self-talk is how we talk to ourselves. And it's how we, those thoughts that, go on in our heads. And so the first step is to recognize negative self-talk and to shut that down. Social media, like I said, is really big. So if there are some accounts that you follow that don't make you feel good or are triggering to you in whatever way, like it's okay to unfollow, even mute accounts if you don't want to hit that unfollow button. Doing something nice for yourself, and then embrace body diversity. So I see this more and more now, especially with like the other day I went online and I bought some new running shorts, right? Because it's getting hot here. I'm local here in Richmond, Virginia, and it's getting hot and it's getting sweaty. So I needed some new shorts. And I love how now online we see all bodies and not just like one version of an athletic body. So I think it's important to remember that our bodies are diverse, and wouldn't life be boring if we all looked the same? So to embrace like body diversity and that we're all different, and that's a good thing. Okay, so now I shared with you a little bit about mindset there, about food and your body. And now I want to kind of move up a little bit. So next I want to chat with you about macronutrients for runners. What are they? What do they do for you? And then how can you apply the information that we talk about in building out those really well-balanced meals and those really well-balanced snacks? So there are 3 essential macronutrients for athletes: carbohydrates, fat, protein. And including all 3 of these on your plate at meals and snacks is really essential. It's going to be important for your overall health, your energy levels, and your performance. So we'll dive deep into each of these next. So I want to first talk about carbohydrates, my favorite. And carbohydrates are our body's preferred fuel source. So yes, our bodies can use fat and can use protein as fuel, as energy, but it can use carbs most efficiently, and it runs the best on using carbohydrates for fuel. So when we eat carbs, let's say a piece of bread, basically our body breaks that down into sugar or glucose, if you've heard those terms, which then our bodies can use, our cells can use as energy. And then we also store it as glycogen. So glycogen is a fancy term basically for stored carb, and we store it in the liver and in the muscles. So really the role of glycogen is that it helps to keep our blood sugar levels stable, especially when we're sleeping at night, when we're going in between meals and snacks without eating. And it's very supportive of energy, and we use glycogen when we're exercising. So our carbohydrate intake, how many carbohydrates we're eating, is going to, of course, influence how much we store, right, in the form of glycogen. And I want to take a look over here. I think you can see my mouse over here, but I want to take a look at this image here. And you'll see on the left-hand side is a person who isn't eating enough carbs, so low carb intake, whether it's intentional or unintentional, we don't know. And then we have the person on the right who is eating enough carbohydrates or including them in meals and snacks. Look at their battery here. You'll see this battery, let's call this their glycogen tank here. So glycogen energy tank, the person that is not eating enough carbs, low carb intake, doesn't have a lot of glycogen stores. The person over here, they're going to have plenty of glycogen stores. And why does this matter? Because when we have higher glycogen stores over here on the right, we're going to be able to exercise for longer periods of time, and that will help to postpone fatigue. So I always tell, since I work mostly with runners, I always tell my runners that when they're training for these long races, we want to carb load, and we want to stock up on carbs so that we have high glycogen stores like this person over here, so that they can run for longer periods of time. Probably a lot longer than this person, on the left there. And I also want to note that when we are increasing exercise intensity and the duration, our carbohydrate requirements are going to increase as well. Because think about it here, if we're increasing our exercise duration and intensity, we need to also increase our carbohydrates to match that so that we feel good, we feel energized, we can recover well. Another important reason why we want athletes to eat enough carbohydrates is that under normal conditions, glucose, so remember that's the breakdown of carbs, we get that from eating carbs, that's the sole source of energy for our brain. And there's a lot of really cool research out there. Our brain uses a minimum of 130 grams of carbs a day. And that looks like this, all combined. So we're looking at 2 pieces of bread, a banana, a cup of rice, and a handful of pretzels. All of that equals 130 grams of carbs. But think about it, that's just your brain. Imagine all of your other organs that rely on carbohydrates for energy. And then put exercise into that equation. And we need to, of course, make sure that we're eating enough carbohydrates to support our energy levels and exercise as well. Carbohydrates are also considered protein sparing, and I'll tell you what that means. When we are under fueling and not eating enough carbohydrates, our bodies are smart. They're not just going to give up and we're not just going to drop dead, right? Our bodies are smart and our metabolism can change and our bodies can adapt. And unfortunately, well, to help us survive, our body's going to look for other sources of fuel within itself. And unfortunately, that can include our tissues, that can include some muscle there. And I know as me as an athlete, I don't want to use my muscle, my protein stores for fuel. And when we do get muscle breakdown, we can have a decrease in strength and our risk for injury goes up. So now that you know what carbs do, let's talk about the different types of carbs and what foods are high in those carbohydrates. So we have like two big groups of carbs. One is called complex carbs, and you'll see them over here. You'll see the potato, the berries, the legumes, the bread, the whole grain bread. And really, these guys are high in fiber, and it's really helpful for an athlete to focus on these complex carbs away from exercise at meals and at snacks. And then there's your simple refined carbs. You'll see here, well, I don't have a picture of it here, but you'll see like your white grains, like white rice and white pasta and white bread. You see your pretzels here, your graham crackers, juice, Gatorade. Those are all examples of simple refined carbohydrates. The big difference is the fiber content. These are low to no fiber. And these guys they're important and they definitely have a place in sports nutrition. We want to focus on these usually within the hour of exercise. If we need a little snack, if we need something to boost our energy a little bit, these would be great snacks to focus on right before. And we'll come back to this because I'll explain to you why. So secondly, we have fat. And fat is also used by the body for energy. It also helps our body to produce hormones, create hormones. Fat is really important to have at your meals and snacks because it actually helps our body absorb certain vitamins. So here we have listed vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. These are all vitamins that need fat in order to be absorbed. So you'll see a little later that fat is on a athlete's plate when we look at the performance plates because it can be very helpful for that reason. We also store fat as adipose tissue, and it's important as an athlete to have some adipose tissue on your body for temperature regulation. It helps to protect and insulate our organs. And there are certain types of fat that our bodies can't make, and some examples is omega-6s, omega-3s. Those are, especially the omega-3s, are really important for brain and for heart health. So fat could definitely provide us with, certain types of fat could definitely provide us with these nutrients that are supportive to our health. Okay, now I want to look at this big image here, and I hope that you could see it okay on your screen there. But we are going to be looking at, so here is the different types of fat. In the green there on the left, you'll see unsaturated fat. So there's a few different types, mono and polyunsaturated fat are here. We have our saturated fat in the middle, and in the purple or dark blue over here on the right, we have our hydrogenated oils and trans fat. Now, over here on the left in green, these unsaturated fats can be very beneficial for athletes. They can help to lower cholesterol levels. They could be supportive of brain and heart health. And like I said before, there are essential fats, especially like in fatty fish, your omega-3s, that our bodies can't make. So they could be helpful to add some fatty fish on your plate so that you can meet your body's nutrition requirements that way. So you'll see here that there are mostly your plant-based fat. So we have oil. There's a few listed there. Avocado, nuts and seeds. Fatty fish is not plant-based, but it is an animal product, but it's still listed here, and it definitely provides us with polyunsaturated fat. You'll see in the middle here that saturated fat, mostly from animal products, cheese, butter. If you've ever seen like well, I'm sure you've seen a steak, right? But on the steak, when you see the marbling, the white, that is mostly your saturated fat. When we're talking about poultry, so think of Thanksgiving with the turkey, the skin on the turkey, that's where a lot of the saturated fat is there. And then some tropical oils like coconut, palm kernel. And then you'll see over here on the right that these are your hydrogenated and trans fat. So they're not the best for our health and our hearts. Some examples here include like fried food, baked goods. So as an athlete, I encourage you to try to choose some of these fats here. With my approach to nutrition is balance, right? I'm not going to tell you never to eat a piece of fried chicken again, right? It's all about balance, and our nutrition is really important over time. One meal, one food every now and then is not going to make or break your health or your nutrition. So looking at all these different types of fat, when you can, aim for unsaturated fat at meals and snacks. But like I said, it's all about balance, really.
Emily, real quick on that moment of balance, we do have a question of do donuts count as carbs, with a little LOL afterwards? And I thought you could touch on that as it relates to balance as well.
Yeah, well, I would say definitely fat, definitely some carbs, yes, for sure. But yeah, I feel like runners have this reputation for loving donuts, like runners wear donut shorts, and sports bras and all that. So yeah, I would never tell you not to eat a donut again, but it's all about moderation and all about what your nutrition looks like over time, and not, that one meal. I'm not the type of person that will ever take a food away from you. Like I said, we want to focus on optimization and where we can add those nutrients. Thanks for that question. Okay, now I want to talk about protein, and you'll see some Legos over there, which I'm definitely going to explain. So protein, our bodies use protein to repair muscles, to build muscles, to make hormones. And okay, so protein is made up of these little things called amino acids. And I like to look at it this way. So we have protein right here. Let's call this big block of Legos protein. All these little individual pieces here, all these little Legos, those are the amino acids. Now we have different types of amino acids. There's non-essential amino acids. The body can make those. And we have essential amino acids. The bodies can't make those, so they're essential to eat. So that's how I kind of keep those two straight in my mind. Okay, give me a sec. So then let's take a step back and we'll look at protein. So there are complete proteins and there are incomplete proteins. The complete proteins, those contain all of those essential amino acids that our bodies can't make. A lot of that is animal products, so meat, seafood, eggs, dairy. And those incomplete proteins, those are missing some of those essential amino acids. So most of the incomplete proteins are your plant-based protein, like your whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, veggies that I listed out there. Soy, so tofu, tempeh, soy milk, those are actually complete plant-based sources of protein. They contain all of those essential amino acids. Now, I am not saying complete proteins equals good and incomplete proteins equals bad. That's not what I'm saying. But what I want to point out is that if maybe you are a plant-based athlete and you don't eat any animal products, or you don't eat many animal products, that's okay. Variety is really key here. So, your whole grains and your nuts, let's compare those. Those may have, I don't have those memorized, but those may have different amounts and types of those essential amino acids. So when we aim for variety, we're more likely to get what we need, especially when it comes to the plant-based protein. And as I have here, variety is key. Okay, so we talked about all three macronutrients. I hope I didn't fly too fast through those. Now we want to talk about micronutrients, and those are the vitamins and minerals. And I'm not going to go, I could probably talk about micronutrients for hours here, so I'm not going to do that to you, but I just want to talk about them briefly. So micronutrients, those are just as important as those big macronutrients: carbs, fat, protein. They're important for our health and our immune system and our energy level and our recovery, performance, etc. And really, a lot of fruits and vegetables, those are so rich in vitamins and minerals. And you'll see in a sec, when we talk about the performance plates, we'll talk about the color part of those performance plates. And that's why we want it on there, is because it supports our body in giving us those vitamins and minerals. Also, going back to kind of like balance and variety, I'm really big on those. So eating a wide variety of foods and a wide variety of colors. It might sound a little silly, but like eating the rainbow, that's like so underrated, but it's so important. So all those different colors will give you different amounts of vitamins and minerals. So aiming for a variety of colors and a variety of foods can help you meet your micronutrient or vitamin and mineral requirements to best support your body as an athlete. And I'll leave it at that. Hydration is next. And I love talking about hydration, especially this time of year. If you're in Virginia, it is so hot and it is so humid, and it's just going to get more hot and humid from here, right? So we haven't seen nothing yet. So hydration and what your body needs, it's very individualized to a lot of different things. And I just listed some here. How much you sweat. Believe it or not, everyone has different sweat rates. So I know me and my running buddy, this is just to give you an example. My running buddy and I, she barely sweats. She doesn't lose tons of sweat. Her standing next to me running, I can probably wring my clothes out. My sweat rate is much, much higher than hers for sure. The environment in which you're training, the humidity, the temperature, how long you're training for, the intensity of exercise, body size, those all influence your own individual body's hydration requirements. Now, here is how you can estimate, just to give a rough estimate of how much your body needs. And keep in mind, this is without exercise. So we want to take your weight in pounds, cut it in half, and that's the total daily fluid or total daily ounces to aim for every day. Know that if you're sweating, you need to add more to that. So maybe you need a water bottle or two more. Maybe you need a few water bottles more. And fluid is one of these that I encourage athletes to sip on fluids all throughout the day. We don't want to wait till we're really thirsty to drink, because thirst can be a sign of dehydration. So by the time we feel thirsty, it might be a little late and we might already be in a little bit of a fluid deficit. So why should you care about your hydration, right? As little as 2% fluid loss can really decrease, and I put running because I talk to runners all day long, but I'm going to say an athlete's performance, running performance too, if that's what you do in your sport. That can put us at risk for these heat-related illnesses. And your hydration isn't something just to focus on right before and right after exercise. It should be ongoing all throughout the week. So just a few tips: sip liquids all throughout the day, setting a phone alarm. I don't know if anyone out there has a watch or a Garmin watch, but I know I love in my Garmin app, I can go to the Connect app and there's a place that I can put hydration so that I can hold myself accountable to make sure that I'm getting in my water, and I use it as like a fun challenge to myself. Carry a water bottle. That water bottle, see I have it right here, it's a good reminder. If it's in front of you, you're probably more likely to drink, and remember to drink and take your sips throughout the day. Okay, so with all that information I just threw at you, which I hope it didn't feel like that, I want to talk about how to then apply this information to your life, to your training. And I want to first start by talking about performance plates. So these beautiful looking plates down here, I did not make them. They were created by the UCCS Sports Nutrition Graduate Program, and they collaborated with the Olympic Committee. And they created these beautiful plates as a guide for athletes in how to set up their meal depending on their training. So I am going to be looking at these with you on the next few slides in detail. So we'll just look at one at a time. You'll see here that this is the easy training plate. And I want to first talk about what we see here. So we see here whole grains. This is our grain and our starch. So that can be just a little cheat sheet over here. That could be your whole grains. It could be your starchy veggies like corn, peas, potatoes. Those are high carbohydrate vegetables, so we can put them right in this grain starch section here, and it takes up about a fourth of it. Then we have about a fourth of that as protein, and then we have half of it as color. We have some fats on the side here, and let's see, some condiments there, flavor there, some fluids there. So really, when we are not in a training cycle, when it's during the off season, when we are, have light training, really low effort, low intensity exercise, I'm going to put a number in there. Let's say maybe about 30 minutes or so of low intensity, low effort exercise. This would be a really great plate to use as a guide to set up your meals. So we have all of our parts, right? We have our carbohydrates. We have some more carbohydrates here with the fruit. We have our color, we have our protein, and we have our fat. I didn't go over any of these categories. There are so many different types of fruits and vegetables. Color, I call that color. So these are just some examples there if you want to look at that. Some protein, we have our animal proteins, we have some dairy products, we have some soy products there that can help provide us protein at that meal. And then a lot of these are unsaturated fats. So we see these coming back, whether it's you're roasting some vegetables in olive oil, that can count as a little bit of fat for that plate. Or maybe we're putting some avocado slices on your, let's say this is a salad, putting some avocado slices on a salad, or sprinkling some almond slices, somewhere in there. That could be a way to add that fat to that plate. So I went over this already. Okay, so now we're stepping up. Now we have a moderate training plate, and this is appropriate for when you are in a training cycle, when you're in season, and it's for moderate effort training and intensity. So let's say about like 1 to 2 hours of exercise. So you'll see here the big difference, the biggest difference here between that plate, the easy plate, and this moderate plate is that this whole grain section, it's not just 1/4 of the plate, it extends to about 1/3 of the plate. So when we're increasing, like I said, when we're increasing intensity and efforts of our training, we want to increase our carbs so that we can match that exercise, and our energy levels can match the exercise that we do. You'll see that the protein section stays about 1/4. And then we cut back a little bit on the color section there. If you can eat a whole plate of, or a half a plate of veggies and 1/3 whole grains, go for it. But you can cut back a little bit if that volume of food is too much there. Okay, now we're stepping it up even more. And now we're looking at a hard training plate. And that's when we're in a training cycle, when we're in season, that hard effort training, hard intensity exercise. And here are some examples of when it might be appropriate to use that hard training plate. So when maybe we have 2 workouts or 2 practices scheduled, that would be a great time to set up your meals like the hard training plate you see here. To prepare for a competition or during a tournament weekend. And the biggest change here is that the grains isn't 1/3 anymore, it's half the plate. So we can fill that plate up with half the plate of grains of starch because again, we're upping exercise even more. We want to make sure our energy levels are in line with that. We can cut back a little bit on veggies. We still want those vitamins and minerals, right? We still want that fiber there, but we just don't really need half that plate. Like I said, if you could eat more than that, more power to you. But if that volume gets to be too much, we want to make sure that we can definitely get those grains in there for sure and fill half that plate up. Now, I do want to say that this hard training plate could be a very good idea for before hard intensity, long exercise, hard effort training, and after. Because when we are exercising, we're using our glycogen stores. So remember that when we eat carbs, we store them as glycogen. And when we're exercising, especially at hard effort, especially when we're maybe you're an endurance athlete and you have easier long runs, but you're running for long periods of time, we're going to be pulling from those glycogen stores to use as energy. So after exercise, those are going to be low. So we want to focus on eating, following the hard training plate and eating enough carbohydrates so that after exercise, we can replenish those glycogen stores so that we can feel energized again and prepared for the next training day or practice or whatever you have on your schedule. Whoops. Okay, now snacks. So snacks are my absolute favorite. I think that they are so beneficial for athletes. So as an athlete, you more than likely have higher energy or calorie or nutrition demands. And snacks can help you meet your daily nutrition requirements. And they can also help to sustain your energy levels so that you feel energized all throughout the day. For snacks, I recommend carbs and protein at least at snacks. Athletes typically have higher carbohydrate requirements, higher protein requirements. And so focusing on those two at snacks can help you meet your daily requirements. And then there's a bonus for adding color, of course, those vitamins and minerals and some fiber. So these are just some examples here that I made up.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I think we're good.
Yep. Do you have a question? Okay. So cottage cheese, and that's, we can count that as our protein, a fruit, carb, protein bar, carb, fruits. We have some crackers with some cheese and some sliced bell peppers there, a rice cake with a peanut butter packet, and you could maybe slice some strawberries on there or eat them on the side, whatever you prefer. Tuna wrap with some carrots, Greek yogurt with some granola and blueberries. So those are just some examples there that I wanted to go through with you in case you're like, what the heck is that blue thing? Protein bar. And then down here is your peanut butter packet. Okay, so we talked about mindset. We talked about macronutrients and putting it all together into meals and snacks. And now I want to talk about the last part, and it is called nutrient timing. And that is the strategic timing of our nutrient intake around exercise. And the goal of that is to enhance our performance, improve our performance, and to support our recovery after exercise. So why this is way up here is that if your mindset isn't in a healthy place, if your meals and snacks, if there's underfueling going on, if you're missing out on a lot of macronutrients, maybe you're short on some, nutrient timing, unfortunately, isn't going to make a huge difference. So we want to build. And I think about this as like building a house. Like you start at the foundation and then you build and then you build. So nutrient timing will really make a big difference once these two components are met or fulfilled. So that's the nutrition before, during, and after exercise. For the sake of chatting today, we're just going to focus on the before and the after exercise. So before exercise, the goal is to provide your body with the energy that it can use to have a great workout, to have a great practice. what to eat before exercise really depends on when you're going to eat and when you're going to start exercising. So the time difference between the two. Now, 3 to 4 hours before exercise, we want to go ahead and have that performance plate that we just looked at with all of those macronutrients, with the color portion, with some hydration there. If we are choosing a snack like 2 to 3 hours before exercise, I would say go ahead, have a larger snack with carbs and protein. We just looked at a whole slew of those there. Now, if it's within the hour, if our snack is within the hour of exercise, I would really encourage you to focus on low fiber carbs. And this is what I wanted to chat with you more about right now. So the closer we get to exercise, I think that's my next point. The closer we get to exercise, we want to limit fat and fiber. Why? Is because fat and fiber can slow down digestion. And there's nothing like, I've experienced it, and I'm sure you have too, of starting exercise with a belly full of food, right? Like it doesn't feel good. It's just not fun to experience that. So we don't want to be loading up on a bunch of fat and fiber before exercise because it can slow our digestion to the point where maybe we're starting exercise and we're not fully digested. So we have some food in there that still needs to be digested. Also eating like a lot of fat and a lot of fiber, that is known to cause some GI issues during, I would say, running. I would say that if you are on a bike, or if you're, seated and doing exercise, I would say that you'll probably be able to tolerate a little more fat and fiber than a runner because you're not having all that like jostling of the stomach. With nutrition, it is very individualized. So there are some runners who go ahead and eat like a big peanut butter and jelly sandwich right before they work out and tolerate that fine. Other people need to really limit, let's say, peanut butter because it's so high in fat, hours before exercise. So these are just a few general examples here, but remember that nutrition is very individualized, especially when we talk about nutrient timing. So the nutrition right around exercise. So we do our exercise and now we're done. After, we want to focus on nutrition to support our body's recovery. So our body can't repair and can't recover as well without nutrition. It needs nutrients in order to do so. So nutrition right after exercise, as soon as you can after exercise, will help your body in hopefully a much faster recovery. And if you have a long period of time, like hours and hours of not giving your body any nutrition after exercise, that can definitely slow and delay your recovery. So really what I would encourage you to do is within like 2 hours of finishing your workout, have that performance plate. So use that plate as a guide there. I did create a handout for this that I think will be posted on the website. So make sure that you look at that because that will be a good resource for you to go back and to refer to. But the performance plate within 2 hours of finishing a workout. And you can start off by having a snack. I know I love this, like after a really hard, like sweaty workout, like I don't really want a big plate of food. Maybe I'll have like a smaller snack, like a fruit protein smoothie or protein shake with carbs and chocolate milk. Those can be separate. You can have the chocolate milk or the smoothie there. And then just follow that up. Maybe you want to take some time to shower and get dressed and foam roll or do whatever you have to do, and then have your meal if you can, like 2 hours later. Oh my goodness, I did not put hydration here, but we'll talk about it on the next. So what we want to focus on in that snack or meal, that performance plate will have all of these components. This is geared towards that, but also that snack, like if you were just going to eat that snack, and then follow it up with a meal later. So carbohydrates, why do we care about carbohydrates after exercise? Believe it or not, they help your muscles recover. And as I was saying earlier, they will help to replenish those glycogen energy stores after exercise. Protein will help to build and repair your muscle. And then fluids come in here because they will help to replenish the fluids that we've lost in sweat. And really with electrolytes, it's dependent upon a lot of things. But if you are losing a large amount of sweat with your exercise, know that you're probably losing a good amount of electrolytes with that, because we lose electrolytes in our sweat. So it might be a good idea to rehydrate with some electrolytes if you know that you lost a lot of sweat during exercise. And I don't have time to talk about all of this, but I just want to put this in here. Don't forget about rest. Rest is really important in recovery. Sleep is so important in recovery. And then stress management. So managing your stress, practicing those stress relief techniques, stress relief strategies are super important in your well-being as an athlete. Okay, I know I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to go through these with you real quick. I only have a few more slides, but I really want to bust some common nutrition myths. These are things that I see all over the place, whether it be social media. I hear about them all the time, so I want to chat through them and talk through them a bit. So the first is losing weight will help you get faster and stronger. True or false? I wish I could hear you answer. But false. This is not true. A well-fed, adequately nourished body, nourished athlete will help you to become faster and stronger at your sport. Underfueling, restriction, all of these things can result in and have consequences like nutrition deficiency. So being low in certain vitamins, minerals, muscle and bone loss, unfortunately, increasing risk of injury, immune function, energy levels, how your brain functions, and loss of, for female athletes, loss of or irregular menstrual cycle. All of those are consequences of underfueling and restricting your nutrition as an athlete. So I encourage you to look at your nutrition again in that performance health lens. We want to focus on optimization and not taking away, not restricting, because that can result in underfueling, which can have all these consequences. Okay, here's another one. When it's a rest day, you should cut back on calories and carbohydrates. Not necessarily true here. Really, we want to look at rest days as a way to allow your body to recover. And this is so untrue, especially if you are in season or if you are in a training cycle. You're taking that recovery day to allow your body to recover, and your body needs nutrition, like we just talked about, in order to do its job, in order to recover, replenish your body, so that the next training day you have on your schedule, you're like all ready to go, you're re-energized, and you're ready to tackle that workout, and you're feeling really good. I'm going to skip to the next one here. But all goes back to that mindset. I can't talk about mindset enough. Okay, here's another one I hear all the time. So-and-so tried this diet, or, you know, I see this a lot, like especially with runners, like with elite runners and elite athletes. It's like, they did this, so if I do that too, then it will work for me. And I want to remind you that your body is unique. And again, I wrote runner here, but I'm, runner or athlete, we'll say. But will work for another athlete if you're a runner, but will work for another runner might not work well for you. And so I encourage you to avoid the comparison trap and just be in tune and in touch with your own body and your own body's requirements. Okay. And we are done.
Thank you, Emily. We have a couple of, I think just one question. If anyone else has questions, if you want to throw them in the chat, and I'll just moderate. Someone asked, or Yvonne asked, where do protein shakes fit in? And that was earlier on in the presentation. I missed seeing it when it came up, but yeah.
So protein shakes, we can call that a nutrition supplement. We can call that protein supplement. So I didn't chat at all about supplements today. I think they have a place, but I don't think that they should be replacing a meal or a snack. Like, I don't think that they should replace food, but if you're certainly worried about your protein intake and you're trying to focus on high protein foods, but you feel that a supplement would be really, really helpful and beneficial to get you there, since most of them are so high in protein, I would say that that might be an appropriate time to bring in a supplement there. I do want to say I've done a lot of chatting about supplements lately. And I do want to say that, remember, supplements aren't regulated. So there's not a guarantee that what you see on the, I wish I had my protein powder here, but there's no guarantee that what's written on the ingredients is actually in the product. Unfortunately, we're just here, at least in the US, we don't regulate supplements like that. So that can be very, that's something good for you to know as an athlete, because there can be, and there's been like a lot of research that shows that supplements can be contaminated. They can contain banned substances, which would be really important for you as an athlete who are competing. So what I recommend is to look to see if the supplement is third-party tested. And NSF, Certified for Sport, comes to mind. I forgot the name of the other one. I can't think of it right now. Informed Choice, I believe it's called. They're two companies that will test sports nutrition supplements to verify that what is on the outside of the product is actually what's inside, that there's nothing else added. And they also test the contaminants and the contamination level. So I would recommend that as an athlete, choosing a supplement that is third-party tested like that could be really helpful and beneficial to you. Because I would hate for, I don't know how many of the athletes out there like tested for. Caitlin, do you have any insight on that?
Not typically, unless,
okay.
I guess unless you're, yeah, I would say not typically in this realm, but yeah, I understand what you're saying, that it's just good to buy a quality supplement to know what you're using, kind of thing.
Yeah, a little safer that way. You can also go on, like, if you're not sure, you can also go on to NSF. I believe it's nsf.org, and you can look up products. So you can look to see what products they've tested. So, yeah, hope that was helpful.
We have a question from Billy. He asked Gatorade or water during a tennis match, or both. And I'll just caveat that with Sportable, we have a big tennis tournament coming up in June where it'll be multiple matches within a day. And we also sometimes have basketball tournaments that I was thinking about when you're talking about the high performance plate and those days with multiple games in them, and how that would relate to that level of participation in the sport. But yes, I know you didn't have too much time to touch on during exercise, but Billy was asking Gatorade or water or both during a tennis match.
Yeah, that's good. I would say it all depends on how long you're out there for. It all depends on how much you're sweating. If it's one match, you'd probably be okay with water. Depends on how long the match is. But if it's a tournament where you're like out there in the sun, and thinking back to like our weather here in Virginia, in Richmond, if you're local here, I think that by having, especially at a tournament, some electrolytes in there can be really helpful if you're sweating a lot. And Gatorade also has some carbohydrates, which can be helpful for energy as well, replenishing those glycogen stores. So kind of with a lot of things with nutrition, it depends. But I would say if it's like a tournament where you're out there for a long period of time exercising, Gatorade would be a good idea.
On a similar note, Gary is asking about your take on water additives, specifically liquid IV.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Love the question, because this is a hot topic for sure. I think that they can be, so with liquid IV, I can name a few of other ones. Scratch Labs. Scratch has like a hydration packet that's very similar to like liquid IV. It has carbs, it has electrolytes in there. That can be helpful, I think, in replenishing electrolytes during, maybe depending on what you're doing for exercise, and then after if you're sweating a lot. There's also food that can provide you electrolytes as well. So we lose a handful of electrolytes in our sweat. We lose the most sodium, chloride, and potassium, and then we lose smaller amounts of magnesium and calcium. So by having like if you're sweating a lot, and losing probably a lot of electrolytes, having like a liquid IV can be helpful in replenishing some of those electrolytes. But also like think to food. So like salted pretzels, salted nuts, those can be just as helpful and beneficial. Some potassium foods are like bananas and apricots. Magnesium foods are like almonds and spinach. And then your calcium foods could be like dairy, calcium almonds, sardines, which I know aren't too popular usually, but also like think that, yes, that could be helpful, but also you could focus on foods too to help with those electrolytes.
Can I just ask a question without typing?
Yes, you can. Go ahead, Robin.
I'm sort of a runner. I used to be a triathlete, and I'm sort of getting back into running, but I'm a rower. But I work full time. And I think what you did was awesome, your presentation, but I'm thinking about the reality of trying to get all that food in a day when you're working. And like I'm coming home now and I really wanted to run tonight, but I haven't eaten, and I'm all of a sudden my energy levels are like dropping. I'm tired, so I'm already talked myself out to doing anything because I don't have time to refuel myself to go out and then beat myself up because I felt terrible when I ran because I didn't fuel. I mean, this is the ongoing cycle of working and inconsistency of your normal day rhythm. So how do you help people get through those kinds of daily challenges?
Yeah, that's a good one. So I'm glad that you brought this up because I have a feeling there's a lot more people out there wondering the same thing. I think that planning ahead is really key, especially if you have really busy weeks. And I think planning ahead with two things, with the nutrition and meals and snacks and with exercise. So it can be, and I know with schedules changing and all of that, just do your best. Doesn't have to be perfect. But I think by having a plan going into a busy week of what you're going to eat, do the grocery shopping, and if you like to do any sort of prep or prepare anything ahead of time, feel free to do that. But that might make it a whole lot easier to fuel and nourish your body, especially consistently throughout the day, if you already have a plan and you already have some things prepared and on hand. With the exercise part, I would say it's very helpful to fuel around exercise if we know when you're going to exercise. So I would encourage you maybe to write down in like agenda. I'm still like a paper and pencil kind of girl. So if you want to write it down or put it in your phone, but once you have that exercise scheduled, then it might be easier to like plan on when to have a snack and how to, maybe when to have your water bottle or whatever to make sure you're hydrated going into your exercise. So I think planning ahead is helpful. What do you think?
Yeah, I do all that, but sometimes you can't predict your day. And I'm an older athlete, so I'm not always hungry. So to think about eating all that food, I mean, before I lost a leg, I was a higher level athlete with triathlons, and that was a bigger stress, just making sure you had food. That was part of the whole plan, just constantly eating. I felt like I was constantly eating, which when I wasn't even hungry. So these are all just regular old everyday people that work and trying to balance your life out, trying to strike the balance and raise kids and go to work and do normal things. So it's just a reality. I'm a reality kind of based person, and I'm thinking, and I love seeing that. So it's just maybe doing the best you can with what you can at the time that you're doing it, really.
It can also, like, I think to like pantry essentials, like what can you, because I understand that those things come up. When I was working full time for someone else, I was like, struggling to fuel and all that, and do all these things. You just also give yourself a little bit of grace, that and remind yourself that you're doing the best that you can, but also like maybe having some of those pantry essentials, like what can you keep in the pantry? What can you keep in the freezer, the refrigerator, that if you got home late from work and you didn't have time to prepare dinner, or like maybe you didn't prepare dinner the night before, have leftovers for lunch the next day, what are some things that you can have at home that you can whip together and make lunch or make a meal when you don't have, have that, don't have enough time to cook. Does that make sense?
With that, I think we are going to wrap it up tonight, just in the
Okay.
nature of time. Robin, I loved your question. I really appreciate the practical discussion that led from it. I know personally, I do keep some snacks in the car. I try to hit on that protein and carbs. I might do like some almonds and applesauce packets that I keep in the car, again, just as something to have on hand when I know I'm trying to exercise in the evening. But again, thank you so much for being with us tonight, Emily. Thank you for everyone who was able to attend. We did record. I will send out the recording. I will also send out that handout with the performance plates that Emily shared. And I just wanted to give one final caveat that, just like Emily was saying, every body is different. And we kept this more general on purpose because we have all sorts of people on this call today with different types of disabilities, including some people that are non-disabled as well. Of course, always work with your doctor, or if you're looking for more personalized advice, seek out more personalized advice. This was meant to be more general based on just the performance needs of anybody pursuing athletics. So again, thank you, Emily. Thank you everyone for joining us. We are getting a lot of thank yous on the chat now. I think everyone really enjoyed it, and you just shared such rich information with us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.